Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to create another bright rainbow inspired card. So I'm pulling out this oldie but goodie from Crafter's Companion. This is called Majestic Butterfly. This is a layering die and we're going to be doing just a little bit of layering, but the stamp I'm most interested in is this solid butterfly here. And there's some really beautiful sentiments in here as well. So life doesn't get easier, your wings get stronger, and I think that's so lovely. So we're going to be stamping that. So I've got my stamping platform here because I'm going to be using 5 different coloured inks to stamp this solid image, and we're going to kind of get sort of a rough kind of look to this. I'm not interested in it being too kind of blended or anything, but we're going to see what happens. So let's grab our stamp, and I've also just got a scrap piece of cardstock here. But this is a nice weighty piece of cardstock that we're going to be able to stamp onto. So I'm going to load that into my stamping platform. So what I'm going to try and do is do a little bit of rainbow. So we're going to start off, this is fired brick, and we're going to start off just sort of on the one side. So this is going to be sort of a little bit blotchy in places. Again, I'm not looking for anything kind of perfect here. I just want to make sort of an interesting butterfly shape here. So there we have our red. So I'm not going to clean this off. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit of mustard seed. We're just going to kind of overlap those areas. And then where I do have a little bit of ink on my pad, I'm simply just going to kind of wipe that off until I can't see it on there. So let's go in with our mustard seed. Okay, I'm going to come in again with that just to kind of darken it up a little bit. Okay, then we are going to come in with our mowed lawn. That's going to be kind of in the centre. Oh. So what we want to do is make sure putting this right back into that corner. So we're going to come in again with a little more of that mowed lawn. And if you do kind of get an edge on there that you're not happy with, maybe it's a little too much, you could just literally come in with a paper towel or a microfiber cloth and you can just kind of soften that edge up a little bit. Okay, let's come in. We have got our salty ocean. Again, we're just going to go straight over that bit. Okay, let's go in again to see if we can get that area just there. So for that blue bit, I had to stamp it a few times and just really press down just to get it to kind of fill in that area. But we've got a nice piece of coverage there. Then we can come in with our seedless preserves. And again, just kind of overlap that colour a touch. So I'm just going to take a little bit away. Just so we don't kind of get too far over. And we can go in then with that really lovely seedless preserve. So if there's any areas where you want to kind of darken it back up again, you could just go kind of back through it and add another kind of layer just to intensify it. So let's just quickly just go kind of back through this. So here we have our background butterfly, and I think this looks really beautiful. It is very kind of uneven. It's not kind of smooth blending or anything, but that's really not what I wanted. I wanted to kind of have more of a textured look. I wanted it to be kind of a bit more abstract, and I think it's really beautiful and just creates a different kind of rainbow kind of look. So I've then got my third stamp, so this is the third in the layering series, and I want to do a little bit of heat embossing to give that detail. And then once we add in this top layer as well, if you're not happy with kind of how this looks, it will kind of not distract from it a little bit, but it will kind of hide bits of it, because there is quite a lot of detail sort of on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is line up our butterfly image, and these are so easy to do. You can just really easily layer it on top. It's perfect when you've got a stamping platform, because you can make sure that you've got it in the exact right place before you stamp it. I'm not particularly great at sort of eyeballing things like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my anti-static powder bag over this image. I have let this sit. Hopefully the ink is going to be kind of more dry now, but I'm just going to use quite generously my anti-static powder bag, sort of all over the image, and I'm just going to sort of shake off the excess. So if you use that anti-static powder bag, this is then going to prevent our embossing powder sticking anywhere we don't want it to. So I'm going to use my Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink pad, because this one is the juiciest ink pad I have. So we're going to ink that all up, and we're going to stamp that over the top of our background. Okay, so the embossing powder I'm actually going to be using is a holographic. So I've used this in one of my previous videos. So the reason that I'm only using a holographic is because I really still want you to be able to see this coloured background. There's quite a lot of detail on here, and it's going to hide, I think, a lot of that really beautiful background. So I'm going to use this holographic because it has got that glitter in it, but it is then a clear embossing powder. And I think this is just going to look really cool. Just kind of being able to see that design, but not have it covering our background completely. So we're just going to pour this, and I'm just tapping off the excess just onto a piece of scrap paper here. So any areas where you think you have missed, and you're going to be able to see all of that really beautiful detail in that. I'm not really too worried if I've missed any spots, so I know it's looking just a little light here from where the ink hasn't quite touched it, but like I said, I just want to kind of give you that impression of what's going on in terms of the detail of this image. So I'm now going to heat set this, but what I'm going to do is let my heat gun really heat up, because this has got glitter in it. I found that if you don't have your heat gun where it is going to melt it pretty much straight away, it is going to blow a lot of that glitter off. So I want to make sure I keep as much of that glitter as possible. So I'm going to heat up my heat gun as much as I can. So if I just hold this up so you can see the few bits where we have sort of missed the ink in from the image, but I'm okay with that. I think now that we've got this stamped, it does look sort of slightly grungy. I really love how this has come out. It's not entirely perfect, but you know, it really doesn't have to be. I think being the butterfly and the kind of symbol and the rainbow and things like that, you know, everyone is individual, everything is one of a kind, and yeah, I really just love how this has turned out. So again, you could do this in a much more polished kind of way, if you did still want to have that that rainbow background. If you wanted to then add more detailing on top, if you used, you know, black, white embossing powder, gold, silver, whatever it might be. But I really love the hint of that design of the butterfly's wings. I think it's just more subtle, but really fun, because then we've got that added glitter. So there are coordinating dies to go with these images, but I don't actually have that one, so I am going to cut this out, and I'm just going to add a small white border around the outside. So we're just really quickly going to fussy cut this. there we have our really beautifully cut out butterfly, and I love then just that really thin white border we've got around the outside. So that's kind of our main element for our card. So now we're just going to build up the rest of the card and create a background. So I pulled out this embossing folder. It's got kind of daisies on it all over, and I think this is really, really beautiful. So I'm not sure where I got this embossing folder from. I'm not sure who makes it, but I did get it when I was making some wedding invitations a few years ago. And it's a really, really lovely kind of background. At the moment, I'm really loving having a white embossed background with sort of a main focal point. I think that's just kind of recently become sort of my style. I do like to have an embossing folder or some form of background that's got a bit of design to it, but that really isn't overpowering, and it's not taking anything away from your kind of main focal point, your main image. So this is going to be embossed with some white card, just to make, again, a really simple background. Okay, so here we have our embossed background, and again, it's just so beautiful. You've got two sides that you can use. You've got your embossed and your embossed and then your debossed side, so you can pick which side you want to use, but I just think these create such beautiful backgrounds. And again, then if you were to just simply add your main sort of element on top of this, I think that is going to work perfectly. So the size card I'm going to be creating today is actually a mini slimline size card, and we're going to do it landscape, and that is just going to fit our butterfly on there so beautifully. So I didn't necessarily need to emboss a whole sheet, but you know, when you're running it through, why not? So you can always use it again. So I want to create, first of all, a matte and layer, then we can cut down our background. So carrying on with that kind of rainbow theme, I thought this would be perfect. This is from Hunky Dory, and this is the Miri Card Essentials Rainbow Radiance Assortment. So there's 3 different kinds of holographic in here, and I've then taken out the diagonal. So I'm just going to cut down my cardstock to create my mattes and layers. So my card is 3.5 by 5.5, so I'm going to go 3.25 by 5.25. So we've got a really nice amount kind of rainbow here, but I will end up, I think I might take off this sort of red end just down here, because then we have got those really beautiful kind of blues, greens going into that kind of yellow there. And there we have some really easy mattes and layers for our card. So we have got our very shiny Miri card. Then we've got our really simple white background. And then on top of that, we can have our really lovely colourful butterfly. So then for our sentiment, I really love this one here that I read out at the beginning, or we have got this beautiful like a butterfly. But I think I'm going to pick this one here, because I think that's going to go really lovely with our card. I think this is going to be perfect as it's Pride Month this month. So I'm going to heat emboss this onto some black cardstock, just because I want it to kind of really stand out. So I'm going to take my anti-static powder bag again on some black cardstock. I am going to use some of my Simon Says Stamp ink again, and then that fine detailed white embossing powder. So first off, let's stamp our sentiment. Let's bring back our piece of card. So that has just heat embossed so beautifully onto that black cardstock. So now we can go ahead and trim this down. So there we have our sentiment. Okay, so let's pop our card together. So first thing, we have got our holographic layer first. Then I'm of course going to add just some Big Mama foam tape to our embossed panel. And the reason why, well, apart from the dimension, the other reason why I like to use foam tape for a embossed background like this is because then I know it's going to stick nice and evenly to our background where you do have all of those kind of raised areas. Okay, so there we have our background. So let's just kind of prop up our butterfly a little bit, just so it kind of stands out really nicely on the page. So we've added just a few little bits of adhesive just to the back of it. So let's just press that, but we can keep our wings up nicely. And then we're going to add a little bit of foam tape to our sentiment just so that can stand up. So let's add our sentiment. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to finish this off with some Nuvo drops. I have got Dandelion Yellow and Black Ebony here. So let's just add a few drops here and there of just some really beautiful colour. Let's do another one just down there. Let's just add in a couple of black ones just to kind of finish off our sentiments. Let's do one, maybe just there. And there we have our finished card. So the one thing I will say is always double check that you are sticking your card down the right way round. So what we have here is what I like to call a left-handed card, which does open the other way. So always double check that you are sort of sticking your card fronts down to the right side of the card. But that is our card finished for today. So I really love how this has come out. I think it's so beautiful, all of that colour. It's something a little bit colourful, a little bit grungy almost. You've got some of that sort of detail in there that you see in the light. And I just think it makes a really simple, beautiful card. And then adding those little crystal drops at the end, I think really just help finish it off. So that is the card for today's video all finished. So if you did like it, please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.